Hey guys, I'm just gonna walk you through using the VES app to program your VESC 4.20 or um, 6.6. Now the wiring is different. Go ahead and refer to the wiring guide, the Bluetooth wiring guide. You can go ahead and use a little single. You can go ahead and use like a what is it, like a tool to take these wires out, and you got to rewire them. For 6.6, you got to wire them so the red goes on the right, third is the white, and then followed by and then it's slightly different for what that's 20 if it doesn't work right away. So make sure your wiring's connected, then download the VES app, and then once you connect, let me show you how to connect it. So you can connect to it and then change your name. I changed my name Bluetooth to Minimax so I can find it easier. And later you have to go to firmware and just press upload all, whatever default is. So for my 6, since I have a 6.60, I just uploaded the firmware. And I'm going to go ahead and reconnect. And you should see a little green bar there, then you're good to go. And I'm actually in the process of doing VOC. So you can now do the automatic motor thing. A motor wizard, and this is basically the same as desktop, but I just prefer using mobile, obviously, just because I can do everything on my phone. For most skateboard motors, it's going to be medium outrunner. Hit next, say yes, go ahead and put the battery in series. I'm using a 12S2P. The capacity is actually 8 amps or 8,000 amps. Alright, so go ahead and put that. It doesn't have to be exact, but I'm trying to get it exactly. Mine's exact because I know exact settings. Motor pulley 16 and a wheel pulley 36. Most likely you guys are probably using that unless you're going off-road. And this, you want to be exact if you want to later be able to calculate, use the logging feature. 14 motor poles, that's fine. So let's go ahead and run. And this will basically set up both of your motors. And you will have to put also the Bluetooth on the second can. All right, if you have a dual like me. For some reason it didn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work right away. Just try again. Okay, let's see if it works. Could not write motor configuration. I'm not sure what's going on. Let me try again. Come on, man. There we go. So sometimes with the Bluetooth, sometimes it takes a few tries sometimes. But that's now I'm using the Hall sensor. And now it's finding out the maximum amps. These motors are actually rated for 80, so you can go a little bit higher than whatever it says, but you can go with the whatever setting it gives you also if you want. So once that's done, if you have using Hall sensors, which I highly recommend, it will show you whether you have sensorless or Hall sensor. But this is all you have to do to set up the motors. So you can see 58.75 amps. Hall sensors, very important. Make sure you see Hall sensors. That means it's detecting the Hall sensor, 62 amps. All right, and next you're going to go ahead and try to hit forward. And it should be going the way you want to. And you can see my other wheels going the opposite way because of my wiring. But you can go ahead and change this, invert it, and then go ahead and forward. So that's going forward. They're going forward. So they're both going forward. I'm going to go ahead and finish. And that will finish your motor control. Now, very important, you're going to have to go to motor settings and double check. So go to general and then go to current. You can leave the default values here usually. What you really got to change is your battery amps. So this is your continuous maximum discharge for my 12S2P using the Samsung 40T. It's going to be 70 amps. If it's under 85 degrees Celsius, it's going to be 90 amps. So I'm just going to use 70 for now. Always use the small values, and you can always change it later. You can set the battery current max regen a little bit less than current battery max. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to hit right, and you'll see the green bar. That means it wrote that configuration. Also, go to voltage, and this is completely wrong. You have to set this depending on your battery. I'm using a 12S2P, so my cutoff want to start around 40 volts, and then completely cuts off at 36. It should actually be those numbers, but I don't know why. Sometimes it doesn't set it, so you got to really set that. RPM for this particular model, I can just set it to 60,000. Now your VESC, for example, 4.20, I think limited to 65,000 ERPM. You can calculate this by multiplying the kilovolts. Let's say my motors are 190 kilovolts times the voltage, and then multiply that by 7. Or you could just run the motors and see what numbers you get. But I know my motors won't run faster than any of this. Wattage, I usually just leave it. Temperature, very important. If you want your VSC to start cutting off, because most likely the battery temperature is going to be somewhat around the VSC, so I don't want my battery to go over like 70, 75, let's say. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and set that. Motors usually don't really heat up because they're outside of the box. But this really depends on my battery box. So if I want to run my battery to the fullest at full 90 amps, which I can, then I could use this to make sure it doesn't, I can monitor the VSC and sort of get an idea of the temperature. Next, you'll also have to set up input. Make sure you have your input connected. You can see mine has a Flipski connected here. All right. Hit next. Oops. You might have to try a bunch of times. Hit next. Hit next. And turn on your controller. And up and down. And apply and right. It should give you -1 and near 1 value. That's pretty much done. And now I should be able to control it. If you want reverse feature, choose current. And I'll talk about these other values later on. But you can also set traction control on if you want. That will, in the rainy days, that will actually help you go straight, which is really cool. So when that's done, go ahead and see if your motors work. And backwards. So working good. You should be all ready to go. But that's how you set up with the mobile if you're using a Bluetooth module. Bye-bye.